Let's start watching this enjoyable movie, which takes place in Shanghai, China, specifically at the International Olympic Committee Conference, where they talk about wushu, a type of Chinese martial art. They also demand its inclusion in the Olympics because it promotes conflict avoidance, continuous self-improvement, and does not incite revenge or hatred. Wushu originated with a man named Yang. This takes us back 100 years to Yang's difficult and challenging journey. He was abandoned on a ship and his situation was extremely tough. He found himself in a different world, reminiscing about the days spent with his daughter. But before all that, let's watch Yang as a child, spying on his father, a legendary wushu fighter. He admired his father's performance and immense strength. Afterwards, Yang goes to serve tea to his father, who angrily scolds him upon entering the training hall and tells him not to come there again, advising him to focus on his lessons. However, Yang goes to the forest and tries to imitate the movements he witnessed. His lessons and assignments were completed by his friend named Ji. On the second day, there was a fighting competition between Yang's father and a professional fighter. The contract was signed between the two parties, and the fight was about to begin. Yang's father was dominating, showcasing his professionalism and skill in wushu. He had the opportunity to kill his opponent with a deadly grip, but he refused and backed off at the last moment. This allowed his opponent to seize the opportunity and throw him out of the ring. Thus, the opponent emerged as the winner, leaving Yang astonished and puzzled about why his father did that. Yang goes to a distant place and bursts into tears. The opponent's son, who won the fight, taunts him for losing his father. This provokes Yang, who challenges him to a duel, saying, "Come, let's fight and see who will win." Indeed, both of them ascend the fighting platform, but unfortunately, in the first round, Xia, the opponent's son, was in control and managed to strike Yang down to the ground. He defeated him convincingly and said to Ji, his friend, "If you are really my friend, stand by my side and help me learn the art of fighting." They go together to Yang's father's office and take a book that teaches Kung Fu along with wushu. Yang tells his friend to copy its contents completely. After that, Yang goes to his father, who becomes furious upon seeing his repulsive appearance and decides to punish him physically. Yang's mother intervenes and saves him just in time. Afterward, Yang goes to the training hall, and it becomes clear from their conversation that his father prevented him from fighting because he suffers from asthma and is afraid of him getting hurt. However, Yang is determined to learn the art of fighting and avenge his loss. He starts going to the forest with his friend and executes every word written in the book. He trains himself on his own, and they prepare a document that Yang takes to Xia, saying, "Sign here and let's have a showdown." The fight between them takes place, and Yang is like a ninja that Xia cannot overcome. Yang wins with all his skill and is filled with happiness. After this, years passed, and Yuan began playing with his daughter. He loved her very much, especially after her mother's death. When his mother came to him, she told him that he hadn't been taking his medication for a long time. But he told her that he had been cured of asthma, and from that day on, he started training and fighting. His mother told him that he should find another mother for his daughter because she needed maternal care. But he refused because he was busy with fighting and competitions. He wanted to be a hero for the country of Tianjin, where he lived. In 1900, a fighting championship was held in Tianjin between Yuan and Xia. Do you remember the child he defeated when he was young? The document was signed when Xia was proud of his strength and fighting ability. But Yuan climbed like a monkey until he reached the platform in front of him, and the fight between them took place. They were both at the same level. Then Xia became the one who controlled the match, and once again, Yuan was the one in control of the situation. After a while, Yuan regained his focus and took an offensive stance. He struck with great force and power, while Xia adopted the attacking position of a tiger's claws. In the end, Yuan gathered all his strength and fighting experience and struck Xia from above the platform, knocking him down. Thus, victory belonged to Yuan. After that, Yuan went to his close friend Ji, who was a successful businessman and owned the largest restaurant in the city. Yuan was accustomed to celebrating and reveling in the restaurant whenever he won and achieved a victory. After that, two young men entered and begged Yuan to be their coach. He agreed proudly, of course. At that moment, he remembered his daughter, and he had to spend time with her as well. After some time, Yuan entered a new challenge and delivered consecutive and powerful blows to his opponent. He didn't just strike one person. No, he struck a group of fighters who fell one after the other. Then Yuan said to them, "I don't want to waste my time fighting each one of you individually. All the rest of you must come up to the platform, and I will defeat you all at once." And indeed, it was so. Everyone ascended to the platform, and despite their large numbers, Yuan was swift and strong like a ninja, and no one could defeat him. He fought with all his strength and confidence. He was a true ninja. After he finished with everyone and won as usual, he went to celebrate at his friend's restaurant. This time, a group of young men came to him, asking Yuan to be their teacher, and he told them that the food and soup were on him. The restaurant employee came to Ji and informed him that the bill was heavy and Yuan didn't pay much. After that, a person appeared and told Yuan not to be too happy because he hadn't met Mr. Shin, his father, yet. Late at night, Yuan stayed up with his friend Ji, who asked him how long he would continue on the path of fighting. Yuan replied that he wanted to be the best and strongest in Wushu. But his friend got angry with him and said, "You must be careful about your future. You were wrong when you allowed your students to eat and drink for free on your account." Yuan realized that this was the reason for his delayed payment, so he told him not to worry. He would pay everything he owed the next day. The next day, Yuan coincidentally met Mr. Shin, and he hurled insulting words at him that sparked anger and controversy between them, especially since Yuan didn't keep silent this time. But luckily, the fight ended peacefully. When he returned home, the head servant informed him that all his money had been spent on his students who were eating and drinking for free, depleting his personal savings, and they owed money to several people. Meanwhile, a group of students entered, and one of them was severely beaten by Mr. Shin, who was celebrating his birthday at Ji's restaurant and had reserved the entire place. Of course, Yuan didn't like what he heard and went there to confront the situation. When Mr. Shin's son tried to talk to Yuan and inform him that this was a personal occasion for their family, he was struck and humiliated, and Yuan put him under his feet. At that point, Mr. Shin started talking to him, but he didn't respond. Yuan was determined to fight against Mr. Shin, but Ji, his friend, refused the matter and told him that he was full of grudges and revenge. This angered Yuan, and he decided to cut off his relationship with Ji forever. Everyone leaves the restaurant and a fight breaks out between Yuan and Mr. Shin. They were evenly matched and equally skilled in combat. Each one tried to dominate and defeat the other, but to no avail. They both used all their strength and abilities to destroy each other. After a while, it became clear that Yuan was able to gain control over Mr. Shin and disrupt his focus. Not only that, but he delivered a deadly blow that no one could survive. Yuan walked out, accompanied by his students who were overjoyed by his victory. As for Mr. Shin, he was taken to the hospital, and his son glared angrily at Yuan's celebrating students. The next day, Ji called Yuan and informed him that he was happy about his victory, but wanted him to know that Mr. Shin had died 2 hours ago because of him. Yuan was deeply affected by his death and regretted it, but it was too late. When he returned home, he found his mother murdered, and it was orchestrated by Mr. Shin's son as revenge for his father's death. He didn't spare the little girl and killed her as well. Yuan became engulfed in anger and took his sword, heading towards Mr. Shin's house to avenge what had been done. He wanted to kill the lady and her mother, but hesitated at the last moment. While on his way out, he met his students insisting on telling him that Mr. Shin had hit that young man because he had attacked his wife and was bothering her, which means Mr. Shin was right. Unfortunately, they admitted that they were all aware of what had happened and didn't inform him to prevent him from killing. Angered by the truth, he abandoned them and was deeply saddened to the point of almost losing his mind, and he disappeared. He only reappeared after a few years, abandoned on the streets, resembling a beggar. Afterward, fate intervened, and people saved him and pulled him out of the water. Luckily, a family from the village took him in and provided him with food, drink, and proper treatment, especially a blind cousin named Kamar, who took care of him. She would check on him every day and advise him to forget the sorrow he was carrying. She decided that she had to wash his hair and clean him entirely, and she did exactly that. Yuan became as he was before. At this time, a child named Hong appeared, who was angry about the illness of his beloved bull, which was on the verge of death. However, his grandmother comforted and reassured him, saying that it would recover or God would compensate him with another one. After that, Yuan left the house and found the children happy to see him, and they took him to play with them. On a new day, Yuan wakes up and doesn't find the bull, but he hears its voice outside. Every time he tries to bring it back to its place, he fails. His grandmother tells him that despite the bull being sick, it wants to work, and she manages to return it to its place. After that, Yuan lives with his grandmother and Kamar. They eat and drink together, and now he has a new family. After Yuan recovers, he starts working on the land with energy and vitality. Years pass, and Yuan continues in his work. Suddenly, they hear Hong crying and screaming at night because of the bull's death. When Yuan and his friends were working, they found joy and happiness. They heard someone from the village saying that Hong is in trouble because after his bull died, he went and stole another bull from a neighboring village, and he will surely be punished. Everyone rushed to the village to save Hong. They found him with his hands tied with ropes, and the village chief ordered them to all hit him because this is the village's law for punishing thieves. The grandmother heard and came to apologize to everyone, saying that Hong is a young child and doesn't know how to behave. But they didn't listen to her and insisted on hitting him. At this point, Yuan intervenes and says that he is ready to take the punishment instead of Hong. The village chief agrees, but he tells him that the punishment he will receive as an adult is to spar with him until the incense stick burns out. If Yuan can defeat him by that time, he can take Hong and leave. Yuan agrees and the fight begins. Yuan was only in a defensive position, he didn't want to attack at all, and he endured all the opponent's blows. His grandmother shouted at him and told him that he is a helpless person who can't defend himself and is getting hurt a lot. Yuan woke up and took an offensive position, and with all his strength, he struck the chief who couldn't even withstand his deadly blows. The incense stick burns out, Yuan wins, and he takes Hong back home safely. And he went and sat down to talk with Kamar. The children asked Wang to teach them and train them in the art of fighting, but Wang refused their request because he was afraid they would misuse it, and he believed that martial arts should be used to eliminate conflict and evil, not the other way around. On a new day, the grandmother asked Kamar to accompany her to visit her parents' graves. Wang overheard and remembered his own family in the village he had left years ago. He was working that day with 10 strong workers, and everyone noticed. Afterward, he approached Kamar and said he wanted to talk to her, but she interrupted him and told him that she knew he wanted to leave and go away, and she understood that it was his right. However, he told her that he also wanted to visit his own family in the country he had left years ago, promising her that he would return to visit them again. So he took his belongings, bid farewell to Kamar, and after a long journey, he returned to his homeland, only to find it under colonial rule by a powerful country. Here, Wang discovered that his country had changed. The first thing he did was go to his house, but he found only the head servant who told him that he had to take care of the house and its contents. Wang replied that any missing furniture was taken by individuals who had the right to it. Only his friend Ji, who used to send him money to pay off his debts, did not take anything. At this moment, Wang began tearing up all his certificates of victory and achievements and burning them. He also went to visit his father's grave and told him that he now understood why he held back his powerful blow and didn't aim it correctly, causing him to lose the match. It was because he didn't want anyone from his family to seek revenge because of him. He apologized to his mother for not listening to her before and leaving the fighting, which was all about revenge. He also apologized for not staying with her long enough, which resulted in her tragic death. After that, he went to see his friend Ji, but unfortunately, Ji refused to meet him and sent him the letter he had copied for him a long time ago. In this state, Wang left the place. However, Ji was watching him from a distance. Afterwards, Wang went to Shin's wife and apologized to her. He also went to Shin's shrine and apologized to him as well. On his way to the market, he ran into Xiao, who used to be his opponent when they were young. Xiao was selling in the market but refused to talk to Wang or give him any attention. He mocked him instead. However, Wang didn't say anything and left him with the book of martial arts and went away. On a new day, news spread in the newspapers about someone named O'Brien, famous by the name Hercules, who had won 32 times and inflicted serious injuries on 25 opponents. He challenged any Chinese person to fight or defeat him, describing them as weak. Of course, Wang decided to go and meet his friend Ji and wanted to apologize to him for what had happened between them. He told him, "I need you to lend me some money, it's necessary," but Ji refused and said he didn't have any money. Wang left him the newspaper with the challenge the Englishman made to them. Ji understood and quickly sent him some money with his personal employee. On the day of the challenge, Wang attended and the referee told him to sign the death certificate. But Wang said, of course, and he was ready, with or without harm. It is unfortunate for someone to die in a competition due to the lack of humanity. The match must be honorable, regulated, and ethical. Everyone was proud of Wang for his words, but the referee didn't tell Hercules anything Wang had said. With great force, Hercules attacked Wang, thinking that he was mocking him. But Wang was like a ninja, skillfully blocking every attack and showing Hercules that his strength was very weak compared to his movements. Wang had no choice but to use his strength and skill and managed to overpower Hercules, delivering a blow that would have thrown him out of the ring and into an iron pole that would have pierced him and killed him if it weren't for Wang's intervention at the last moment. Hercules admitted to respecting Wang and presented him as the winner of the match. The news spread in the Chinese newspapers that Hercules, the English champion, had lost and was saved from certain death. For this reason, an association was established and named at Jingfu, the sports union, to support fair competition and not killing and violence. Yuang became famous. As for his friend Ji, he was finally happy and admired him a lot because he had turned against violence and revenge in combat. He also honored the country against the Englishmen who had colonized them and confiscated their properties, thinking they were weak. Ji was greatly amazed by Wang's new and completely different personality, especially when he said, "Why do the Englishmen despise us and exploit us? It's because we are still busy fighting each other. In their eyes, we are nothing. We must change ourselves in order to elevate our status." After this, Ji decided to sell the restaurant and donate his money to the Union Club affiliated with Yuang, despite the fact that the restaurant was his lifelong dream. But he chose his country and his friend over his dream.
On a new day, Xiao comes to Yuang and apologizes to him for what happened in the market, but Yuang tells him it's okay and there's no problem. They have pizza together and Yuang leaves him to enjoy the place. After that, Yuang gathers the people of the country and informs them about the true meaning of martial arts, wushu, and how it is the path to development and progress. He emphasizes the importance of unity as a nation and standing together against any enemy through cooperation, not intimidation, killing, or revenge. Everyone takes a commemorative photo at the Union Club. On the other side of this film, specifically in the English trade room, they were discussing how to get rid of Yuang. They decide to gather 4 of the strongest fighters in the world to go against Yuang. This in itself is a great injustice. However, they were certain that he would agree in order to save the honor and reputation of their club. Mr. Mehta insisted that Yuang would lose and they would bet on his defeat. Yuang receives the invitation and his friend Ji tells him that he is not reassured by this and that it is a plotted scheme by the English against him. However, Yuang agrees to fight without hesitation for the sake of their club's reputation. After that, Ji tells him that one of the competitors named Tanaka wants to meet him. Immediately, Yuang goes to meet him. From their conversation, it becomes clear that Tanaka is a very respectable person who believes that wushu is the path to self-improvement, control, and mastery, not violence and killing. Yuang starts training intensely every day in preparation for the approaching competition. Everyone is excited to see who will win. The 4 competitors against Yuang are present. Tanaka starts blaming Mehta because he didn't know that the 4 would be facing Yuang and that this is clearly a case of murder, not competition at all. Tanaka realized that Mehta gained money from this plot. Yuang faces the first one of them, the British boxer Peter. The fight begins between them and Yuang is in a focused position, very confident in himself, his strikes, and his movements. With one of his strikes, he knocks down his opponent and wins against the first one. The next competitor, Hanks, enters, who is a royal equestrian trainer. Yuang fights him with all his strength, blocking all his strikes and searching for the opportunity to strike back. After this fight, Yuang wins deservedly. The English people are sitting, disappointed by Yuang, who shattered their dignity. Now, the third competitor enters, Anthony, a champion in European swords. As usual, Yuang engages in the fight with him and defeats him easily, winning the match. At this moment, a man tells Mehta that Yuang cannot defeat Tanaka, or else Mehta's neck will be cut. Yuang and Tanaka meet. Tanaka tells him that if he wants to take a break, he can because the competition was unfair from the beginning. However, Yuang assures him that he is fine and the fight between them begins. Tanaka proves to be the best and strongest among the previous 3 competitors, skillfully countering all of Yuang's strikes. They are evenly matched in the fight. Afterward, the evil Mehta orders to switch Yuang's teacup with another cup containing poison, intending to get rid of him for his own benefit. The first round ends in a tie between them. When Yuang sits in the break area, he drinks the poison tea. When he returns to the ring, he confronts Tanaka with all his strength, but unfortunately, he cannot endure for long as the poison starts to flow in his veins. They hide the poison from the table and no one knows what is happening. However, Yuang tells them that someone poisoned him. He refuses to go to the hospital, feeling that it is too late and he will surely die. He is determined to finish the fight in this condition. Meta audaciously tells Tanaka that he must win. Then, Tanaka tells Yuang that they must continue the fight. Both of them engage in a new battle, with Yuang attacking and defending with all his might until he gets the opportunity to deliver the decisive blow. However, at the last moment, he hesitates and falls to the ground. Tanaka wakes him up and declares himself that Yuang is the winner, rightfully so. Everyone cheers for Yuang, who ultimately dies poisoned due to Meta's greed and his desire for the bet.